Hello and welcome to haQ attaQ. My name is Jakob. I'm your host and you're watching a haQ attaQ episode. I'm gonna show you something I've been working on for over 2 years. I started it back in 2016 and it's something I've actually wanted to build for a very long time. Something proper with a properly designed panel with engravings and text on it and some design elements. However, what I need to tell you is that the panel you're about to see on this, project here, this panel is something that I did design myself, but I didn't make it. This panel was made by a CNC drilling and milling company named SCHAEFFER AG. And they basically contacted me after they saw me posting a picture of me using their front panel designer software for PC and Mac. So they contacted me when they saw that and they said, hey, if you tell your viewers about our company, we'll make this panel for you and you won't have to pay us. Thank you, SCHAEFFER AG, for sponsoring this episode. SCHAEFFER did a bang-up job on this panel. It looks perfect. And I was designing it in the front panel designer software because I was planning on ordering it after I'm done. Because the neat thing with the front panel designer program is that if you open up the pricing tab like that, then you can see exactly what everything costs. Every little line, every hole drilled, everything, what it will cost. And the complete cost for this panel would have been 95 euros approximately, 112, 113 euros, including VAT. That's a pretty good price. Either way, I'm really happy with what SCHAEFFER did with this panel, and I will be actually paying them for the next projects that I'm making. They really seem to be a nerdy company because they seem to be dealing with a lot of DIYers. This is actually the box that it came in, and even though they don't have to, they send these little stickers and this type of candy. I just find that very endearing. So what is this actually? And is it worth building your own stuff? Yes, those are questions we're going to try to answer in this episode. And I'm gonna start by telling you what this actually is. So this is supposed to be a stereo delay module, but it's not right now because it's not finished. And I don't know exactly when I'll finish it, but it will be finished at some point. This is a project I refuse to abandon because I've always wanted to make it. Okay, so I've at least got one channel working, and that's one circuit. I'm using a circuit design called Echo Base Delay, and I chose this one specifically because it has an analog type sound to it. It does this thing where it can sound as if it has a kind of a tape fluttering effect, and it's thanks to a built-in modulation section. So the modulation is basically an LFO with a speed and a depth control. Now what this will do is it will wobble the delay tail around, giving you a tape fluttering effect. Now, as you've probably noticed by now, this delay has a very dirty, very gritty sound to it. It's got a real edge in there. Now, since it is a dub delay, a lot of you might be thinking, okay, so you're probably getting like up to 10 seconds of delay out of it. Actually, no. This Echo-based delay doesn't do more than up to 700 milliseconds, and that's quite short. And this delay actually sounds the best when you're driving it really, really short, almost to the point where it starts sounding like a spring reverb or plate reverb, something like that. You see, this is the type of delay I would be using back in the days to make vocals sound older, as if they were recorded in an older studio. So kind of an old school sound. Right now I'm talking into my mic and I'm just going to filter off a little bit more of the low end to make it sound a little bit older. At least that's what I feel it sounds like when I filter off so much of the low end. And now we're going to turn on my dub. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the old stool. No, not the old stool. When I'm talking about the old school sound, this is exactly the sound I'm after. And listen to that grit. It's so gritty. Yes. Okay, so what I plan on doing is putting these two circuit boards in here, and then I'll make a power supply circuit board, and I'll also make a back panel to connect the audio input and output and DC jack. There's one tiny problem though. These circuit boards were made to be mounted inside guitar pedal enclosures that have slits for circuit boards. So if you look at the circuit boards, there are no mounting holes. So there's nothing to put screws through. I can't mount this directly to the bottom of this rack box. So I'm gonna have to find a solution for that. And if I do have any DIYers watching this video knowing about something that could help me solve this, then please tell me in the comment section. I would really appreciate it. By the way, for anyone wondering, this is an Adam Hall rack unit. I purchased it at Toman. So now that you know a little bit more about this hardware delay, if you're part of my core audience, then you're probably wondering, Jacob, why would you do this? Why won't you just use an app? An app is cheaper. By the way, when I say core audience, I am referring to mobile musicians using iPads and iPhones in their music making processes. And yes, of course you could use an app. Now, here's the thing. I get this question a lot. Why even buy gear when you can use apps? Well, for some, it's about money. For some, it's about the way stuff sounds. Or for some, it's the tactile experience. Using hardware and using just software is very, very different. When you're using hardware, you have these dedicated knobs, faders, buttons, pads, whatever. They're dedicated to that unit. You just turn on that unit and you start using it. If you're using something like a laptop or a desktop computer or an iPad or iPhone and you want a tactile experience, you have to add a controller to it and then you have to map it and stuff. In some cases, you only have to do it once, but as soon as something changes in your setup, you have to redo stuff. Well, you see, when I do live stuff, I really do prefer using hardware gear. I find it more fun and I like the tactile experience I get from it. It's fun, twisting a lot of knobs and pulling faders and stuff. But when I sit down and produce, I much more prefer using my iPad. And in the end, it's all about preferences. Try it yourself. You have to try it yourself in order to really understand why some people want to choose hardware over apps or why some people want to choose to use apps or software. It's basically software applications versus hardware. The only thing that matters in the end is your own opinion. What do you like working with? What do you not like working with? If you're a beginner, then you should try out a bunch of different tools, whether it's drum machines, synthesizers, anything, just try it out. Give your creative side some tools, give it a space to expand in, and give yourself time to discover what works for you. Okay. So is it really worth it? Is it worth building your own stuff? Yes, it's worth building your own stuff. And sometimes it isn't. It can be so very time consuming. I've been working on this on and off for over 2 years and it's still not done. And I basically started building my own music gear because I wanted to use it when I was making music. What I ended up doing instead was I was building and I wasn't making music. And that's a trap you're bound to fall in at one point or another, or not. You might be one of those who orders one kit, build it, and you're done with that and you don't want to build more. But a lot of people out there, like if some of you are thinking right now, maybe I should build something. Yeah, you should, but it is very addictive. Whenever you finish the project, it feels great for a moment, and then you go looking for the next one. Okay, so just to give you kind of an overview of how long it can actually take to make something, let's just have a look at the panel I made. Okay, so one of the most time-consuming things with designing a panel is that you have to make sure that all of the measurements and placements of everything is just right. If you send a blueprint to a CNC milling, drilling, and engraving company, it's going to be set in stone, or in this case, it's going to be drilled and milled into metal. If you do something wrong, it's going to be your fault. So double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking, all of the measurements are so important and so very time consuming. I spent 10 days on this panel, saving multiple versions, double checking everything. I even pulled up data sheets for all of the components that were gonna be mounted into this panel and double checked it with a caliper. This is something I recommend that you get if you're gonna start designing your own panels, because you wanna double check every measurement. I cannot begin to emphasize how important that is. One thing you don't wanna get wrong is the placement of the knobs. This one has 10 knobs on it, 5 for each channel, and then there are 6 switches, 3 for each channel. And so you don't have that much space. Well, I did have a lot of space until I decided to put this dub thing here. So this is a design, and these 2 holes are actually supposed to hold the LEDs. Since I wanted this design, I had to sacrifice some space in between knobs and switches. Now, switches, not that hard to sacrifice space on, but with knobs it is, because you want some finger space between the knobs when you're twisting knobs. And so what I had to do was go out and look for the smallest knobs I could find. And I didn't find the smallest one, but I found some that was small enough. I even had another knob that I tried out that I thought was nicer, but I just had to sacrifice that in order to get knobs that would fit this design better. I probably spent an extra 2 or 3 days on that, and I even ordered knobs just to test out the size and the feel of it to make sure that I did choose to go for the right type of knobs. And then there was one extra day where I decided to do something I haven't done before. You see, on a potentiometer body, you have this thing right here, and usually you'll break it off when you want to mount a pot body against a panel. But in my case, if you look closely here at the panel, you can see these little holes. You can see that there's this checkered, well, they're not checkered, but you know what I mean. There's this pattern over them. And that's simply because these are halfway holes that are drilled from the back side. And if we look at a picture of the panel, you can see these holes right here. This hole is just large enough, deep enough to fit this thing on the pot body. The reason to why I did this is because when you mount a pot body directly onto a panel, they tend to loosen up after a while. Even if you tighten the nut enough, they will loosen up after a while and they will start move around. Well, with this thing still on the body fitting into this hole exactly, well, it moves around less and it's easier to tighten the nut on the other side, and it won't loosen up as quickly as they usually do. Thanks to all of the great tools in this little thing, I could easily get the measurements just right. So all in all, 13 days on designing this panel, and then SCHAEFFER actually had to make it and ship it to me, and it took about 2 weeks. So if you think about it, about a month from the conception of the panel until it was actually in my hands, and I could actually double check everything and fit everything in there. Was it worth the wait? Oh yeah, just look at this thing. And look at this, the smiley faces. I say smiley faces, but they're sad faces. So I designed this unit to be happy. And so whenever you turn something off, it gets sad. And so you should always have everything on and the unit will be happy. Don't read into it too much. It's just the way that my brain works. But I think that everyone who feels a bit, curious about this, building these devices, maybe a little distortion pedal, delay pedal, stuff like that, stuff I started with, you should definitely try it out. And it doesn't have to be expensive the first time you do it. You can buy really simple kits, a good soldering iron that doesn't have to cost much, and a little bit of solder, and then just try it out. Thank you so much for watching. All comments and ratings are very much appreciated. And if you want to try out designing something like this yourself, then you can download the Front Panel Designer software for free. Remember, there's no iOS version, only for PC and Mac. So you have to use a desktop or laptop computer in order to use this software. It's called Front Panel Designer. I put a link down to SCHAEFFER and also the Front Panel Designer download down below. And whenever you're done with the design and you want to, if you want to jump the gun, I almost said, if you want to just jump in there and order it, you can look over the pricing inside the app, and you can even order from within the app. Now, if you found this episode entertaining or useful in any way, then why not hit the thumbs up? If you didn't find it useful, if you didn't find it entertaining, give me a thumbs down. And your comments down there, whatever you think about building your own stuff, maybe you've thought about it but never wanted to, tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. And also tell me what you think about my design. I want to see what you think about my design. So go down in the comment section and just, if you want to support me, then I suggest you check out my music first. And if you don't want to do that, use Patreon or PayPal. And if you don't want to do any of that, then share my videos. And so, as usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.
Hey, this is the Bucket Brigade. This is the Bucket Brigade. Delay. This is the Bucket Brigade. We make your audio fade away. Delay. This is the Bucket Brigade. This is the Bucket Brigade. Delay. Hey, Bucket Brigade. We make your audio fade away.